There's a fresh story, come and see. With Olivia and Jenny, be who you need to be. Honest voices, safe and strong. Come as you are, you belong. So take a breath, let's begin. You're not alone, we're here again.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Simple Tips to Support. Well, this time it's to support your teen. Usually it's to support yourself. We're very excited to have one of our Fresh Starts experts who I have loved what you do since the moment I met you, and you are all about empowering teens. So we're going to call this episode Simple Tips to Support Your Teen and Their Leadership and Empowerment. So Lorraine, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah. Hi. My name is Lorraine. I am a teen leadership coach. So I work with teens ages 12 to 16 to help them find their voice, develop confidence, and step into things that are leadership that we may not recognize as actual leadership.
I love that. So what does that mean? Like, if I have a teen and I'm listening to this and I'm like, well, I don't know if they're a leader or not. Like, what does that mean to my family?
Well, so we really define leadership as somebody with a title, right? And I was just in a group of middle school and I was like, tell me what a leader is. And they're CEO or professional basketball players, right? So sports and things
Right.
like that. And so we have this idea of what leadership is, and it feels really, really big. So there's all of these barriers that prevent us from stepping into leadership. But at the very core of leadership, it's making a decision. And so how that really impacts us as families is evaluating if this decision that we're making for ourselves, for our family, is moving us in the direction towards our goals.
Okay. So how can we as parents model that for our kids?
Well, I think honestly, the first thing that we have to do as parents is recognize that we are the most important leader in our children's lives. And I, for many, many years, held all of these roles in my life, but definitely was not a leader because I also held this belief that leadership was something that I personally had not attained.
Mhm.
So if we first recognize the fact that we are the most important leaders in our kids' lives, then the decisions we make, the challenges we face, our kids are watching how we handle them. And I often think of, when our kids are little, we are seen as superheroes by them. And then they get older and they recognize that we are not all powerful. We are not superheroes, but we really loved that feeling of being
Mhm.
somebody's hero. And
Mhm.
so navigating that change is hard. And for some of us, myself included, accepting when we make a mistake or saying no, but not really knowing why we're saying no and not having that conversation with our children really sets them apart from us. So those are really two big spaces in which
Mhm.
we as parents can be leaders is accepting responsibility and owning our mistakes. When we make a mistake, especially with our kids, have a conversation. I did not handle that well. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that's a great perspective from the parental perspective, but we have a lot of our children's time are not going to be spent with us. They're going to be spent in the classroom. So for anybody listening to this who is a teacher, that was your background. That was the impetus for you writing the book, which we're going to talk about. So if you are a teacher listening to this, how can you bring that leadership model into the classroom?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that I talk about in this book in how we really push that belief that I was saying that we had this misunderstanding of that belief of leadership in the classroom, right? So I am thinking about who I'm going to ask to do this activity. I am going to think about who I want to be the group leader in the group project. And I'm going to put kids in positions who I'm pretty confident will do what I ask them to do. But the problem is that we're sending a message to all the kids we're not selecting that they're not good enough to even
Mm.
try. And so one of the biggest things about this book is to reevaluate what we think leadership is and redefine that for ourselves in the classroom. So ask that kid who is the problem, ask that class clown, ask that shy student who doesn't even want to be seen to do something for
Mm.
you and
Mhm.
empower them to see themselves in a different light.
I love that. So tell us about your book. What is the book called?
The book is called A Teacher's Story: How One Act of Leadership Inspired Many. And I went all around with that title, but really a teacher's story. This is my story, but it's every teacher's story. And it's got tons of student stories in it. And so it's really relatable. It's a quick read. It's written for teachers, but I think, I'm a parent of teenagers. It's really relatable as a parent. And the idea behind it is that you're able to see leadership in identities that you would never have saw leadership before reading the book.
I love that. It is a wonderful book. I have a copy myself, and I highly recommend if you are a teacher picking up a copy, and if you are a parent picking up a copy, and get teachers a copy as a gift, because it's a quick read, it's written beautifully, and I love the real life scenarios that you talk about in the book with
Mhm.
kids that you actually have worked with. And I think because you are a teacher and have your own children, you have this like very much, you're in it, like you see every side of it. And you also obviously do beautiful workshops with schools and you work with many, many hundreds of students and teachers on these principles, which are really, really important. So if you're listening to this, Lorraine, and you are a parent or a teacher, and you're like, this is really inspiring, what's one thing they can do today or this week to start on this new journey of empowering their teen and leadership?
Just recognize the little things, right? And I said the very core of leadership is making decisions. So if you notice a teen in your class or your home who's made a decision that, let's say, is not a good decision, ask them to reflect on that and say why. Why did you make that decision rather than being punitive or dismissive or, well, you knew that was going to happen. Ask them why. What were the backgrounds? So that's one of the things for me is just kind of getting into their head. I don't know what it's like to be a teen anymore. I wish I did, but I don't. And so I'm making a lot of judgments. I'm making a lot of my own decisions based on not enough information. So that's my biggest, takeaway for an easy step for today is just ask why. Be curious about why your teen or student is making the decision that they're making.
And really listen, right? Like
Oh,
put your phone away, really listen to your kid. I find my son is almost 12, so he's not quite there. But going on walks with him, he just talks the whole time, happily,
mm,
right? And because we're not necessarily making eye contact, he can just kind of like free thought everything out. And I just listen, right? And so I think, finding ways to be there for your kid and support them because it is a crazy time to be a teenager right now.
it is.
Lorraine, can you just tell us the name of the book one more time for people who are listening?
It's called A Teacher's Story: How One Act of Leadership Inspired Many.
And it is available in the show notes and on Amazon and all the places. We will link to it and we will link to Lorraine. And you do coaching, one-on-one coaching, you do workshops, you go anywhere and everywhere to teach these methods. We appreciate you and your passion so much, Lorraine. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
It's a fresh story, come and see. With Olivia and Jenny, be who you need to be. Honest voices, safe and strong. Come as you are, you belong. So take a breath, let's begin. You're not alone, we're here again.